Hello, dear friends. This is Kardec Radio, nourishing our souls at 11 p.m. And we are here today to continue the studies of the book Evolution in Two Worlds. The book Evolution in Two Worlds was psychographed by two mediums simultaneously, even chapters by Chico Xavier, chapters by Valdo Vieira. They were living at the time in two different cities that were a 5-hour drive away from each other, and yet in 6 months this book was completely psychographed. The spirit author is André Luiz, and André Luiz says in his preface of the book that this book is an invitation to study our multi-millenary pilgrimage, to ignite the fire of our hope and keep us focused in our ascension to God. So this book comes for tortured of the heart and tortured of the mind. Says André Luiz, this book is an invitation to study together, to understand ourselves, and to cherish our relationship with God. God loves us, and the world, little by little, is becoming aware of it. So welcome, friends. Join us in this multi-millenary pilgrimage, right? Today's part of it, right? So we're studying today chapter 17, which is about mediumship and the spiritual body. Remember, our dear friend Shane and I have been able to cover chapters that talk about how we are immersed like fish in the ocean of the divine breath, the divine plasma, right? Interconnected with one another and also connected, viscerally connected with God. Then we learn about the cells, the spiritual body, how we acquire the automated functions that exist nowadays in our body, especially the brain, which is the seat of the mind. Later, we become aware of our relationships in the spiritual body, so symbiosis and vampirism. Yesterday, André Luiz was teaching us new aspects about how we function, the mechanisms of the mind. Time and again, he repeats to us the importance of learning to think correctly. And to think is not only thoughts, but feelings. This book, Evolution in Two Worlds, was psychographed by Chico Xavier in the same year that he psychographed the book Thought and Life. Okay, so let's keep that in mind because it's not by chance. Today we're going to study about mediumship in the spiritual body. Are you ready? I guess so. I see friends from near and far coming here. Welcome, 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 dear souls. Be ready. Look, remember, this study is deep. We have prepared slides to make it easier. But let's be patient, friends. Today, a good friend of mine who lives in Brazil was sharing with me the beauty of a particular spiritual treatment and how people sometimes have to wait for 4 or 5 hours to be seen. We are at a time on the earth when people want flash courses. They want to know things in a minute. And if it takes a little longer, they become dissatisfied. So let us practice patience, mindfulness. Let us practice this beauty of the science of patience. Okay? Today the chapter is beautiful, but it has many nuances. So let us join, visualize André Luiz as a teacher, and we are seated before him, and he is teaching us what he became aware of, what he is willing to share with us. Now, a prayer. Shall we? Let us ask our dear mentors of Kardec Radio and our guardian angels to connect us, make this moment therapeutic for the mind and the bodies, for our homes, our family members, that it may spread this banquet of light to our neighbors, to everyone connected to us, and many more. Guide us, inspire us today and always, and so be it. Shall we? I'm going to share the slides with you. So join us in this journey of mediumship and the spiritual body. So Luiz says to us, he begins by talking about aura. Yes, our human aura. Exactly. He says each cell in action is a living unit, similar to a microscopic engine in connection with the mental power plant. All cells emit radiation. These radiations articulate, constituting resources that we can call tissues of power around the bodies that exteriorize them. Okay? So each of our cells, a living unit that is dependent on our thoughts. And it emits radiation, creating true currents of power, tissues of power. All living beings, from the most rudimentary to the most complex, are enveloped by an energetic halo that represents their nature. All living beings, from the most rudimentary to the most complex, are enveloped by an energetic halo that represents their nature. In human beings, such projection appears deeply enhanced and modified by factors of continuous thought that, by adjusting to the emanations of the cellular field, mold around the personality, the non-vital body, or etheric double. Etheric double, actually. Okay, pause. We gave enough here to make a pause and break it down. So let us break it down. Emmanuel is telling us, right, from the beginning. He's going to talk about mediumship. He will talk about mediumship. And yet, he begins by talking about energetic bodies. Why does he say so? Let's observe. He says to us, starting from the cells, that we emit our thoughts. It bathes the cells, right? And the cells radiate, and then form tissues of power. And then he tells us that we, all the living beings, from plants to animals to humans, we have this energetic halo. You've heard about the Kirlian photo, right? The Kirlian photo, you know, the Russians who created that equipment so you can take a picture of it. It's about your aura. So you can tell about health and disease, emotional patterns by pictures, by the Kirlian picture. Okay? So what we feel, what we are, is here. And he's gonna tell us that we, because we think continuously, okay, we adjust these emanations around our own personality, creating this field of vitality for us. Think about this, because now he's going to add more information. He's going to tell us additional information. He says, in the gaps and subtle junctions of this electromagnetic, electromagnetic tunic worn by men or by human beings, thought revolves, coloring it with the vibrations and the images of which it is made, showing on first hand the solicitations and improvised pictures before radiating them towards the objects and goals that it demands. So observe this, like in the picture here, okay? We think, and this thought will give quality to these radiations, different frequencies that, end up being in different colors, vibrations, and images according to what we aim at. So we need to pay close attention and ask ourselves, what have we been thinking? Many people, they say, oh, but I'm just minding my business. I have to work. I have to do things. Yes, but if everybody only think of themselves, then who is going to help one another? We can't expect that people are going to stop their lives to help us if we don't give ourselves our time and our vitality also to others. And this is a pause also for people who go to spirit centers, okay? And I'm going to change here the camera so we can look at each other and meditate on this together. I understand, and we understand, that spirit centers are open to everybody. There are service of energy medicine that we call passes, spiritual treatments available to everybody. But we cannot become vampires of people's energies. I know people who spend a whole life just attending the meetings, receiving, and never giving, never taking the next step. They read the books, they listen to the talks, they receive the passes, and then they go to spiritual treatments. And when they are better, they disappear. Crisis comes, they go back. So they never get out of the hospital. Because spirit centers has a hospital feature in it. They never enroll in the school of the spirit center. So the goal of the people who are administering a spirit center is to emancipate the people who come. We need to see people who come and encourage them to take the next steps. Offer them courses. Offer to them opportunities to serve. For example, doing works to help outreach causes, right? It's very important. We call charity. And when the center creates those opportunities, there are several reasons why the spirit centers has social roles in the local community, because we're part of the community. But it's also to give people who come to the center an opportunity to get out of their self-centeredness and go help others. Or, as Mentor Joseph said once, we'll be co-responsible for allowing people to come and suck the vitality of those who serve without giving anything in return. So, one thing is to offer spiritual treatment. Another is to allow people to vampirize the center. So if you are part of a spirit center, if you are an administrator, think about this. Our role is to empower people and not to create followers, but to empower them, to see them growing, expanding, opening themselves to the opportunity of co-creating at greater levels, instead of just sustaining the misery. We can't do this. And this is also valuable for when we do the outreach services. We don't want to see homeless forever in the streets. We want to empower them so they move on. We hope that the next time we come, they're not there. Till the day we no longer have that. But I know people who pray that they stay there just to make us feel good. That's not good. That's a form of vampirism. So I have to be careful. That's what we're learning with André Luiz, mechanisms of the mind. He's going to tell us that our aura will have the colors of our thoughts and feelings, goals in life. We cannot mask who we truly are. Okay? So let's go back, because André Luiz has more to say. He has more to teach us. So he says to us, he clearly says to us that our aura is a living screen of the soul. He says, in this conjugation of psychochemical and mental forces, meaning what we think, what we feel, and the chemistry related to it, the human aura is like a sensitive mirror that reflects all aspects of the soul in a characteristic way, and where all ideas are presented, creating a living screen similar to a projector. Okay? So, if somebody comes to us, they can see who we are. It's impossible to pretend. We are naked all the time, spiritually speaking. The psychic photosphere, it's like a sphere of images of the mind, displays all of our thoughts in color and in image that represent our goals and choices, ennobling or depressive. So for us, it's important to know that we think in images and we vibrate in different frequencies that will be characterized in different colors. So I am not the color of the physical body. The color of my aura depends on what I feel, on what I think, and it's there. So when people are like, why? Well, but it's in your aura. And then people are picking up on it. So next, André Luiz tells us that in that way, we're going to communicate with others. He says, the aura is our omnipresent, meaning it's always there, platform of communication with others, the foreign routes, in all activities of exchange with the life that surrounds us, through which we are seen and examined by the superior intelligences, felt and recognized by those alike, and feared and harassed or loved and helped by the brothers that stride in a position inferior to ours. So think about this. That's why André Luiz is telling us about our aura. Because when we talk about mediumship, which is communication of minds in different realms, right? It begins with our own living screen, our aura. So mediumship doesn't require words. This verbal language, written language, it's an exchange of images, and it can happen in the silence of our solitude in a bedroom. Oh, but I'm alone. No, you're not. You are exchanging without words with the discarnates that are with you. Okay? So, André Luiz is saying the foundation of it all begins in the vibrational realm, in our own field of vibrations. Feel it. I mean, this knowledge doesn't mean anything if we don't feel it. So think about you. Visualize you. Images, like Kardec says in the book Genesis, photography of the thought. See how André Luiz goes hand in hand with Kardec. He complements, he expands, but he confirms. And thoughts are images, become images, the thought forms, and then we communicate. You turn on the TV, and just by the images, an image is more than 1,000 words, right? That's how we communicate with one another. So if you feel fear, fear becomes an image. And then whomever is with you sees it. You're sending a message. If they love you, they're going to help you. If they dislike you, they know exactly how to bother you. Or me. So Kardec says in the book, the Medium's book, mediumship is organic. But not only in the physical body, it's about the perispirit. And he says to us, it's perispiritual communication. At the end of the day, it's about vibrational communication. That's exactly what André Luiz is going to tell us now. So we were recapping how we form this energetic halo according to our thoughts, feelings, and then from that, we communicate with others. That's why he talks about the initial mediumship. Okay? And then he continues by telling the following to us. It is through this vibratory armor, you see, it's vibratory, like a fluidic carapace, where each conscience builds its ideal nest, that all services of mediumship on earth begun, considering mediumship as the attribute of the incarnate person used to communicate with others who are discarnated. Okay, so when we talk about communication with incarnates, like telepathy, that's not mediumship. Mediumship is communication between incarnates and discarnates, by definition in Spiritism. Okay, so it's a vibratory armor that we have, the energetic halo, the human aura. Through that, we communicate with one another. We attract like-minded minds. And that's exactly what he's going to tell us now. Nonetheless, this work of permutation, let me just fix the color here because we cannot see it. Okay, hold on a second. Cannot change it now, can I? No. Okay, I'll read it to you guys, okay? So it says here, nonetheless, this work of exchange was initiated in the world without any conscious direction, because by the natural presentation of the aura, better human beings attracted improved human spirits, whose generous hearts were turned compassionately to the terrestrial sphere, assisting the companions left behind. On the other hand, those rebelled against the divine law enticed entities on the same class. So attraction. We attract one another without words. Oh, but I didn't say anything, but you felt it. You emitted it. You attracted. And everything began unconsciously. So we need to understand that mediumship does not depend on our consciousness. Some people tell me, I don't want to be a medium. But my friend, you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. No, but I don't want to be a medium. But mediumship doesn't happen because you want to be a medium or because you accept it or because you understand it or conscious of it. You may be a medium, not know you're a medium. But Vanessa, how do I know? Learn about yourself. Know yourself. You need to know who you are. And then you're going to observe when you are not who you are. You are there and suddenly you start feeling something. You go to a funeral and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sad. But why? Is that somebody whom you know? No, but I feel so sad. So you're empathetic. Usually, people who are highly empathetic are mediums. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Study Spiritism. Study yourself. Or you go to a happy place and then everybody's joyful and you're joyful and you're super joyful. What's happening? Did you win the lottery? Or did you get married? No, no, no. Somebody else is getting married. But why are you feeling so? Oh, you're medium. Yes, you're highly empathetic. And there's a high correlation between empathy levels and mediumship. Because as Kardec says in the book, the Medium's book, mediums are highly impressionable people. You say something, they're like, ah, mediums, okay? Sensitive, etc. There are different types of mediumship, so read the Medium's book, study it, okay? But that's a sure thing. You don't need to, you don't choose it. But then there is a warning. What if you know you're a medium and you don't use it? You know of the parable of the talents? The Lord was going to travel, gave 5 talents to a man, 3 to another, 1 to another, and said, invest my money, work on it. When I come back, I want to see what you did. So the one that received 5 multiplied in 5, 10. The one that received 3 multiplied 3 more, 6. The one that received 1 kept it, buried it, didn't do anything. The Lord, when he came back, was very upset. He expelled the person from the property. Well, this is Jesus' story, not mine. So I'm not gonna dispute the the harshness of the story or not, but why did Jesus say this? Because it's law of life. If you're given a talent, you better multiply and help people out. Because if we don't, we're going to not feel approved, feel we missed the boat, feel we didn't use it to helping others and ourselves. And the next step is karma. So if you are watching this, it's a sign that you are being acquainted with Spiritism. So run to the next Spiritist Center or form a Spiritist study group and study it, practice it, help others through mediumship. Mediumship is, by excellence, one of the best tools to help people in the world. Okay? Give me a break, friends, because I have a thing to do and I'll be right back. Okay. Thank you, friends, for waiting. For those who don't know me, I'm Vanessa Soloni, and I have a 5-year-old daughter. And when a child gets sick and wakes up in the middle of the night, though there is a father who is there taking care, they always want a mom. And I go there to soothe her and come back here. So I apologize for the break, but thank you for understanding. So, Shayuton is asking, is this more acute in animals since most of them do not speak? No. Jailton, Kardec talks about this mediumship in animals, and we would say we have to be careful because we need, by principle in Spiritism, we need continuous thought to really make the exchange happen. Though we have continuous thought, not necessarily we are aware of it. Okay? So we would say it's important for us to understand that we're talking about mediumship in humans. And I think there is a, a, a chapter that we published in a Spiritist magazine. I have to recall the issue in which we talk about this issue of mediumship in animals. But my best reference now is the Medium's book by Kardec. Okay? So Teresa Castro is asking, what if before knowing Spiritism you experienced mediumship, but out of fear because you didn't know what was happening, repressed it, just kept studying? Well, that's valid. Thank you for asking, Teresa. If we don't know, it's okay. But now we know. What we're doing now is important. We need to be diligent. Now we understand that mediumship is a talent and we need to work on it, like intelligence. We need to go to school, study, develop our intelligence. And I'm not saying going to school is the only way of doing it, but mediumship is also a faculty that needs to be educated. And Andrea is going to talk about it today. Okay? So let us go back to the slides and see what else he says to us. Okay. Now, this is super interesting. He talks about mental currents. Through the waves of thoughts that intertwine according to the combination of trajectory and frequency, nature and objective, we find two things: similar minds that can either form bonds of progress, where noble individuals assimilate the mental currents of superior spirits in order to generate edifying and educational works, or commencing various processes of symbiosis, where stagnant souls are mutually encased, defying in vain the imperatives of evolution, and establishing lamentable obsessions that long in the web of crime or in the complex etiology of mental infirmities. So, what is he telling us here? He's saying to us, we think, remember the chapter on the fluids, thought particles, mental currents, the mental fluid, and according to the direction we give, the frequency, the nature, the objective of those thoughts, we're going to find similar minds, either to boost progress or to be stagnant. And in symbiosis, creating obsessions that may derail in crimes or mental infirmities. And that's our world. That's why we need to go to the school of our emotion and boost happy emotions. That's why Jesus says, I brought you the good news. The trademark of the good news is Chapter 8 of the book Good News by Humberto de Campos. He's talking to Bartholomew and he says, 1. The followers of the Good News present joy. Remember the song? Dê sorriso só, sorriso aberto, sorriso certo, cheio de amor. Quem tem Jesus gosta de cantar, vive sempre sorrindo, mesmo quando não dá. Tropeça aqui, ui, cai acolá, e depressa levanta e começa a cantar. So, if I have Jesus in my heart, I'm gonna sing in spite of anything. I'm gonna be joyful. The message tells us, come on, everything passes. It passes, it passes, it passes. Doesn't mean I'm gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. It doesn't mean I'm not gonna feel the hardships, but I'm going to recompose myself, talk to friends, ask for help, join forces and say prayers and move forward, take a shower and say, I believe in the good. I believe in the good. I believe in the good. I believe in the good, and let us expand this good. And when I do this, I connect with incarnates and discarnates who think alike, and we create projects of progress. But the contrary is when we start believing I'm not good enough. What kind of spirit's going to be around me besides my guardian angel? Well, spirits who think we are not good enough, they are not good enough, and it's a pity party. And then after the pity party, it's a mess, and they don't go anywhere because they found out who thinks like they think. They stay there, symbiosis. From symbiosis, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and maybe crimes. Suicide, homicide, genocide. Okay? So let us meditate on this. I think, I create a mental current, I connect, and I receive like-minded thought particles. And then he says, intuition was the first way we started our mediumship. Intuition. Facilitating the communion of individuals even when afar. Transfusing them in the subtle work of telementation, forming the living screen, right, of our energetic halo, in this or that domain of feelings or ideas, by way of measurable swirling. There is something missing here. A measure of my mental current. So intuition is the first step into this mediumistic exchange. And now he's going to talk about how during sleep time we expand our exchange with the beyond. So we as incarnates, in Spiritism there is this technical term, emancipation of the soul, right? Chapter 8 of the Spirit's book. And Sleep and Dreams. And he talks about this emancipation of the soul, trance, communication, etc. So Andrea Luiz is going to lead us into the understanding that when we sleep, we are exchanging, and that's also mediumship. Well, what about the prophets who slept, dreamt of things through prophecies, through dreams? Where did they acquire that knowledge? The exchange with the higher minds. Think about it. So he's going to tell us here. It is relevant to note that as the individual begins to produce continuous thought, sleep gains a new importance, ignored by the conscience in evolutionary process until then. And he continues. Instinctively used by the spiritual element as a reparative resource in the recovery of the cells in service, this physiologic state brought new possibilities of achievement for many who engaged in the most ample work of desiring and mentalization. What is he saying here to us? That once we acquired continuous thought, our sleep has a new roles. What is it? Well, for everybody, including animals, sleep is for the reparation of the physical cells, but also the spiritual cells. And possibilities of exchange. New possibilities of achievement through the work of desiring and mentalization. And he says, while sleeping, the soul collects the results of their own excesses, suffering the uneasiness of the viscera when we eat too much, or of the injured nerves by surrendering to licentiousness when we are think too much of the carnal needs, including sexual needs, when not by asphyxiating sorrow of remorse because of the committed faults. So during sleep, we're going to be recapping also what we've done, felt, thought, said during the day. Okay, we don't need to read this slide. This is just for our reference, but I want to share with you. Luiz explains to us that when we emancipate, there is this relaxation between the cells of the physical body and the spiritual body, okay? The physical and the spiritual. And creates, okay, an opportunity for us to cherish the images that we have created during the day. He talks about our desires and how we keep contemplating that in the afterlife. So you see, Freud was right. If we study our dreams, we'll know a lot about ourselves. And he says that sleep will specially recruit resources of areas in our brain that are related to vision, okay, and essentially boost areas connected and controlled by the crown center, boosting, he says, emerging thoughts in the silence of our physical quietude. So that's very interesting for us to know that, well, if we want to have a good night of sleep, what do we need to do? To have a wise daily life. I won't be able to sleep well if my day wasn't wisely orchestrated. So now he goes back and tells us about meeting the discarnates during that time. He tells us this, that during sleep, in certain conditions, the mind is susceptible to the influence of discarnates, who, evolved or not, come attracted by the pictures that are filtered from the aura, offering efficient help when inclined towards elevation of moral order, or draining its energy and whispering unfortunate suggestions, when by their own sloth or malignant intentions adhere to the psychic consortium of a degrading kind, which favors its stagnation and laziness, or envelops it in the vicious obsessions through which it gives in to formidable contracts with the dark forces. So what is he saying to us here? He's saying that the images that we create during the day through our thoughts and feelings will be emitting radiations, remember the living spring of the soul, and connect with other minds. So if I want to have a good night of sleep, I need to have a beautiful day of good thoughts, good feelings. Good thoughts, good feelings. Question to us. Have you been measuring during the day the quality of your thoughts and feelings? But Vanessa, what do I do with my feelings of inadequacy, of guilt, of coach yourself? Coach yourself to the new, to the good. That's why this 10,000 Spirits spoke to us. Read 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and until you start thinking like the books. I'm not kidding. hmm The reasons why these books are here on earth, the Spiritist books, they are here to coach us to think in a more elevated dimension. Okay? So read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and listen. And now we have audiobooks, we have cardiac radio, we have so many things. Listen and watch and research and never stop until you will be automatically in that mode, thinking beautifully, constantly beautiful. That's our goal. Because what we think creates images, what we feel creates images, it stays in our energetic body, the halo, the aura, and that emanates radiations and is going to attract minds who think alike. Which mind do we want to attract? Of the teachers of the beyond, saying, I'm a good student, I love studying, and I love doing the good, and I want to learn more. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's a beautiful student. I want to tutor that student. And they come. And from there on, it's a beautiful journey, right? This is precisely how it happens. Or I think of negative things, bad things. I pity myself, and then what's going to happen? Minds that are not too wise will come along. And then it becomes worse. So it's up to us to change the game. Do you believe in the good? It's either yes or no. There's no more or less. Because in terms of frequency, there are only two frequencies. The good and the bad. Constructive mental currents, André Luiz says, or destructive. Which one are we in? Constructive? Wonderful. Destructive? Bad. So press on, says the manual in the book, Living Spring. Press on, press on, press on. Come on, more. It's certainly the CrossFit of the soul. Spiritism is the CrossFit of the soul, coaching us to higher levels. Okay? It's not simple. It's beautiful, but it's not for everybody yet. Because many people don't want that intensity. And you see a little more as André Luiz explains to us. He talks about spontaneous mediumship. In this new primary set of development, human beings naturally find themselves close to the matters that interest them. So when we talk about tribes, for example, or when we are just beginning to evolve as humans, and there are people on earth nowadays that are still at that level. So he explains to us, it is this way that the farmer, during physical rest, during sleep, returns in spiritual body to the seedling grounds, getting in touch with the entities that sustain nature. The hunter returns to the forest. The sculptor returns frequently during sleep to the marble stone that he aspires to carve his masterpiece. The good reaper returns to the fields of work where he enhances his virtues and the guilty person returns to the crime scene, each receiving from spirits akin the uplifting or degrading stimuli they deserve. So, question to you and I, where have we been during the night? You can program your mind to make better use of sleep time. It's what we call the intelligent sleep. It begins when you wake up. You wake up saying, may I have a dignified day to deserve a restless night and a productive night. Restless for the physical, productive for us spirits. But it begins when we wake up. And then when we go to sleep, we pray saying, may the mercy of God take me to the spirits who know better than me and are wise and loving, so I can be taught things that I don't know, be treated in what I need to be treated in the clinics in the spiritual realm, in the hospitals of the spiritual realm, and at the same time, I can be useful, helping in the spiritual realm. Okay? So now Andrea Luiz is going to tell us more. The less dense the links between the physical and the spiritual implements in the organs of vision, the greater are the possibilities of clairvoyance, prevailing the same norms for clairaudience and other modalities of mediumship in the exchange between two spheres, including the particularities of materialization in which the peripheral resources of the cytoplasm condensing into the ectoplasm of vulgar scientific definition exteriorize from the medium's carnal body in conjugation with circulating ambient forces to constitute diverse ephemeral forms. And you may be saying, but yes, what does he say? I agree with you, Andre Luiz. Mamma mia, what is this? And he's saying to us, take it easy, friends. Read it again. We will, Andre Luiz. Here we are. So, Kardec, in the Medium's book, he says to us that to be a medium means that the connection between us through the spiritual body to the physical body has different aspects, density, layers, to be more permeable, because we exchange at spiritual level. Mediumship happens mental body, spiritual body. Okay? Reflects in the physical, inevitably, because of its connection. So that's why he's talking about density of the connections between spiritual and physical bodies. The less dense it is, it provides room for permeability of this exchange. And if it's related to the organs of vision, spiritually, then clairvoyance, clairaudience related to the organs of audition, and other modalities. When he talks about materialization, healing, then it's something that is related to the cytoplasm of the cell and the production of ectoplasm that happens in the mitochondria. Okay, that's all he's saying for now. He's not saying more than that. He's just explaining to us and confirming what Kardec says in the Medium's book. Now, he tells us more elements. That's also how mythology came to life. He says, because we were interacting with the spiritual realm, many spirits were creating black magic, right? Why? Because we didn't know better. We're using the exchange for our immediate interests. And then superior intelligences opposing this created mythology. And what does it mean? Familiar mythical beings, he says, interested in favoring edifying tasks to raise human life to a more noble level, were categorized as gods in multiple areas of nature. And through the mobile human instrument, these tutors, genies, encouraged the progress of agriculture, industries, arts, but also, on the same token, the fight between the less advanced spirits and the ones that were more evolved still happened, supported by ourselves as incarnate beings. So since remote eras, this battle of good and evil has always existed, and whether it's unconscious or conscious, it's through mediumship that this belief, this understanding, this interpretation of this mediumistic exchange became what we call mythology. Okay, that's quite interesting that Andrea Luiz is explaining this to us. That's why this book is called Evolution in Two Worlds, because it explains how things in the physical become what they are as we understand the matrix, the original matrix in the spiritual, where everything begins. Now, two more topics. He talks about the role of Spiritism, or the Spiritist doctrine, in mediumship. He says, we're forced to recognize that mediumship has nothing to do with the moral principles that govern the issues of destiny and of the being. Mediumship may be at the disposal of the wise and the ignorant, the just and the unjust, thus expressing the need to a righteous conduct, as the electoral force demands discipline to be of assistance. So he's saying to be a medium doesn't mean we're better than anybody else. Do we know of this? Do we know? Because if we know, fantastic. Some people think that to be a medium means that we are better than others, but that's not true. Andrea Luiz is telling us that that is a mistaken concept, a fallacy. That actually, when we are mediums, it just means there is a faculty. It's like intelligence. You can be a good person, very intelligent person, a person that is very ignorant in terms of morality, very intellectually advanced. Same for mediumship. But he says, if we adjust our moral, our conduct, disciplining like we discipline the electrical force, then we're going to see beautiful things. So discipline is a must, and that's why many people don't want to practice spiritism and practice mediumship according to spiritism, because they don't want to discipline themselves. They don't want to stop drinking alcohol. They don't want to stop their licentious lives. They don't want to stop gossiping. They don't want to stop their vida loca. They're like, oh my gosh, I have to give up on going to the bars, going to do this. And then they say, no discipline, no good mediumship. Okay? So the quality of mediumship, the production of it, will depend on our discipline. And that's why he says, that's why Spiritism is here. That's why Spiritism is here to teach us, all of us, you and I are mediums. Okay? He says this is the reason why the guides of progress sustain the Spiritist doctrine in the world today as the divine flame, Christianizing phenomena and objectives, characters and faculties, so that the gospel of Jesus is incorporated, in fact, to human relationships. Guides of progress, sustaining spiritism as a divine flame. So the goal is to bring that Christ consciousness into all of our human relationships. And then he adds more. As in surgical interventions where tissues are transplanted with success for the improvement of organic conditions, it is indispensable that we adhere to the obligation of mediumistic surgeries where valuable psychic implants take place and aim at spreading superior knowledge. Are you impressed by what he's saying? Yes, he is very straightforwardly telling us about something that we may not have ever heard before. He's saying that Spiritism comes to help us also use our communication with two realms in a wiser way. And the ultimate goal is to use it in a therapeutic way. So you see in mediumistic meetings, true surgeries, in our spiritist centers, we say it's surgery time. It's surgery time. And every member of that mediumistic meeting is what? A member of that surgical team. So it requires preparation. It requires study. It requires cleansing of old conditionings. Preparation so we can be good in the team of surgery. Helping change conditionings, energetic implants, okay, and spreading superior knowledge. Let's not forget that this book is the byproduct of a well-guided mediumship. The book then is the reason why we're here right now is the result of a well-guided mediumship. And that's why he finalizes the chapter by talking about mediumship and life. There are no two mediums alike, despite the similarities in the field of impressions. Okay, so let me go back. Sunshine is asking, who receives those surgeries? The spirits that are being attending. But also, depending on the meeting, it may be even the spirit, the incarnates as well, in spiritual treatment meetings, as you know. Right? True surgeries in the spiritual body of incarnates and discarnates. Makes sense, Sunshine? Remember, he's just briefly touching a beautiful use of it all. But we need people. One person cannot do it all. So we need you to join forces with people where you are to make this happen. Thank you, Sunshine, for this question. So mediumship and life. There are no two mediums alike despite the similarities in the field of impressions. And it's funny he's saying this because this book was psychographed by two mediums. And when you read the book, you cannot distinguish. Saying, oh, this chapter was written through Chico Xavier. This chapter was written through Valdo Vieira. And yet, when André Luiz psychographs this chapter, he says, even though you may think Chico Xavier and Valdo Vieira are very similar, they are not the same. And now we know it. But back then, people were like, oh my gosh, right? Mediumship, however, is an inherent faculty of life. With all its deficiencies and greatness, successes and failures, it is somewhat like the gift of common vision, peculiar to all creatures, responsible for so many glories and sufferings on earth. Wow. So it's life. Mediumship is life. But no one will remember to suppress their eyes because millions of people in light of imponderable circumstances of evolution have relied on them to persecute and kill in wars of terror and destruction. So he's saying, many people, and why is he saying this? Because many people, they want to preach that fear, like, oh my gosh, no, 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 I don't want to use mediumship because it's risky, it's dangerous, because I know somebody who used it and they harmed people, and I know families who have true aversion for mediumship practices. And Andrea is saying, hey, people use mediumship wrongly as well as they use a knife instead of cutting a bread. They kill somebody. And now you're going to disappear with the knives in the world because knife can be useful to cutting bread, to making meals. Different from Ganza, they have no use in the sense of they have no use. Different from a knife. Okay? So we spiritists are not in favor of guns at all. But this case here, mediumship, somebody doesn't know how to use it wrongly. That doesn't mean we're not going to use ours. Okay? There are people who use their intelligence to create bombs. That doesn't mean you're not going to send your kid to school and learn the same physics, that the same knowledge of physics, chemistry, that made that scientist create a bomb. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to allow my child to learn it, or they're going to create a bomb. No, they will not. I just need to teach them how to use it wisely and not create bombs. I'm not saying that we're going to send kids to school to learn about bombs. I'm just saying the knowledge that underlies, okay, is the same. And yet we're not going to close schools because there are people who become bad scientists, bad physicians, bad psychologists, bad architects, bad engineers, because there are many good doctors, good scientists, good engineers promoting progress, good psychologists. As much as there are bad mediums, there are wonderful mediums. And the reason we're here today is because the wonderful medium Chico Xavier and the medium Valdo Vieira put it all together and channel their mediumship to the benefit of all. Last slide. The most beautiful part of the chapter, to illuminate mediumship. He says, we urge to illuminate, guide, and clarify mediumship. Mediumship will also not require indiscriminate development, but above all, improvement in the mediumistic personality and nobility of cause, so the spiritual body can equally become faithful filter of the superior spheres, facilitating the ascension of humanity to the domains of light. Right now, many people around the world are doing several things, either good or bad. You chose to illuminate yourself. I chose to illuminate myself with this book as well. And I think that's the direction of André Luiz. He's saying, if we illuminate, guide, clarify, make the use of mediumship noble and transform my personality for the better, I connect with higher spirits and I open beautiful doors for wonderful things around the world. Isn't that beautiful? Hmm? So where do we begin? Homework for us. Draw your aura. But Vanessa, how do I do it? I don't know. Take some color pencil. Draw a form, a shape on a paper. And put the colors that you feel like. Now, also write down what kinds of images do you think are more popular in your living screen of the soul. Say, I'm constantly thinking about, and then you do. Medication, courses, etc., etc. Write it down on a piece of paper, draw it, and now you see what kinds of minds you're going to attract. That's mediumship. So, aiming higher, what can I change in this living screen of my soul to connect with higher minds? That's our homework, okay, friends? Tomorrow we'll be studying sex and the spiritual body, okay? Which is the creative force of the soul. Tomorrow, here at Kardec Radio, always nourishing our souls with the guidance of the good spirits. So, thank you, friends. A big hug of gratitude and a beautiful time in our homework. And until tomorrow, God willing.